Mighty, gosh almighty, who the heck are they? Hey, flim, flam, bim, bam, Ole Miss. By golly, and welcome to Buck Hemingway Stadium where the Rebels are ready to take the field. Texas A&M about to boot it away to start this game. He thought about bringing that out for a half second, but he'll take a knee and they'll bring it to the 25. The Rebels offense will get the first possession of the game. When your quarterback takes the field, you want him to look just like this guy, exuding confidence.
Yeah, the it factor. He's the man. Nobody questions it. Everybody on this team knows they've got his back, and he's the leader.
Everybody in this stadium also knows the offense goes as this guy goes. He has got to play.
And it's picked off. Got room on the return. And the senior just took that one out of the air and sent it the other way.
Man, does it get any better than that? Creating a turnover on the very first play of the game. You talk about doing this all week, and you talk about, we can beat this team. We're going to go out there and execute. And to do it, the first snap, belief, climbing through the roof, baby.
Well, this is just the type of field position this offense wants. Running behind that left side. And they'll finally get him down after a terrific pickup.
Defenses have had their hands full slowing this guy down all season long. It's the speed, and it's the open field running ability and vision. That's why he's second in the nation in rushing yards, and that's why he's square in the conversation for the Heisman Trophy.
They'll give it to him again.
You know what I really like about games like this at this point in the season? You find out who you are. You find out whether you're going to stay in the race.
And who can step up and handle the challenge, right? This is easily one of the toughest games to date for both of these programs coming into this one, so there's a lot of eyeballs.
And he runs it in for the score. Touchdown, Texas A&M.
You just simply can't say enough about this guy and what he has meant to this offense. Big-time players make big plays in big games. He has shown up each and every week. That's his 15th rushing score on the season.
Lining up to tack one more onto that lead. And with the extra point, they get the first 7 of the game. Quick strike offense on that 3-play scoring drive. And it was punctuated by an 11-yard run for the score. About to kick it off after punching it in for the touchdown. And it'll be a touchback. The ball will come out to the 25-yard line. The Ole Miss offense ready to go back to work. Well, let's see if this drive goes better than the last one. They were in and out quickly after the quick kick, David.
Yeah, first play, big mistake, man. Now, let's get this offense in a little bit of a rhythm. Maybe before you open it up again, Palmer, or do you trust him right away?
He seems to me like the guy maybe that just needs to kind of get into the flow of the game. So maybe you get the running game going here and just give him some easy looks to let him get lathered up.
Dumps it off in the flat. The defense wouldn't let him loose, and even though it's a completion, they lost yardage.
I like the play call on offense. I like you trying to get the running back involved in the pass game, too. Defense was ready for that one. Let's see what you've got dialed up on third.
On third down, going up top. Receiver looks it in, it's complete. And he's not going to make it. The defense denying him the first down. And the Rebels will line up to punt it away. First one of the day is booted away. They ran him out there 4 times in the victory last week. He gets a block. This guy is a daring punt return man. He's not going to settle for the fair catch. A solid return. Gets a little bit of ground for the offense. Texas A&M has it back in the offense, ready to go to work. David, they'd love to do what they did last time and put this one in the end zone.
You ain't lying. They did a great job. The offense was clicking. Everything went well, Palmer. They executed and got the touchdown.
And they really were in a nice rhythm as well. And I'd love to see that here on the next drive, too. Just keep doing what you're doing. Everything seems to be working, and you seem to have this defense on their heels.
And they'll line up from the 31 on first down.
Well, it's plays like that that'll help this offense stay in rhythm all game long. If you can have that kind of success on first down running the football, it just opens up your entire playbook moving forward.
Good spot after that 7-yard pickup on first down. It's 2nd and 3. Wide receiver coming across in motion. He's dropped behind the line of scrimmage. That'll be a loss of 3.
There's just nothing doing on that last run. And they knew coming into this one they were going to be challenged, right? This is one of the best defenses in all of college football. For them to have any shot, they're going to have to do a lot better running the football.
Quickly out to the tight end. They make the stop, but the sweet pulling catch is plenty to give them a first down.
They pick up the first down on the drag route. I know that seems like a simple route, but it's actually a lot more complex than what it looks like because that route changes based on whether it's man or zone. If it's man coverage, he's flying across the field. If it's zone, he's got to sit down over the ball in a soft spot, giving his quarterback a place to go with it. Nice job of those guys being on the same page there.
2nd down coming up on this red zone opportunity. They'll try the right side. And he sprints to the end zone. Touchdown, Aggie. Follow the broccoli. The offensive line will take you to the hallelujah land.
And I tell you what, most of the time, Reese, it requires a little bit of skill to find that hole and, slither through a little crack. That was not a crack. That was wide open. Didn't take a lot of vision because the blocking was outstanding.
They'll try to add another to their lead. And the extra point makes it 14-0. So that scoring drive took only 6 plays. And the capper on that drive, the 10-yard touchdown run. The kickoff team out there and ready to go. And he'll just take a knee, and this drive will start at the 25. Ole Miss ready to send the offense onto the field. Boy, 3 and out last time, David. They'd like to be more productive this time around.
Yeah, the last drive, nothing really clicked. No rhythm, got off the field really, really quickly. They need to put something together here, though.
Yeah, David, bad execution on that last drive. So they got to take a collective breath and start playing like a unit on this one.
Tackle was made at the 28 after a pickup of 3. The Rebels want to move quickly. Handoff to the single running back. And they make the tackle, but the official has tossed his flag. They say you could call holding on every play. Well, they did on that one. Now on 2nd down. He's looking to throw. It's complete to the left. They make the stop, but not before he takes a chunk out of what they need to move the sticks.
And frankly, if that's a completion, it's not going to make the end-of-season highlight reel, but in this game, it could lead to a highlight reel type play. The offensive coordinator may be setting something big up for later in the game.
Feeling some heat. He's going to take off. And he earns a first down, and boy, did he earn it after taking that lift. And the Rebels will line it up on 1st and 10.
Well, it's a great individual effort by him, but boy, oh boy, it came at a cost. He was able to go out and get some positive yards and make something happen for his offense. But did you see the hit he just took? I don't know if he can take too many more of those.
They make the stop, but there is a flag on the field. We'll see what that's all about. The officials offer the deal, and the coach accepts it. They will take the penalty. Looking for a productive play on 1st down. From the gun, they'll try to impose their running game. That's what you expect from a senior. Don't give them any extra yards. Great tackle there. Went to the running game on 1st down. Now here they come again. They'll move the running back to try to force the defense to adjust. He's brought down quickly. Minimal gain there. Still a bit short of the first down. They've got a good chunk of ground to cover on 3rd and long from the 41. From the gun, wants to pass. Tight end finds a soft spot. They'll get him down, but not before he crosses the 50. He's down to the 49.
Well, they pick up the first against zone coverage. I think a big part of this for young quarterbacks out there is if you're going to be throwing into zone coverage, you got to throw on time. You can't stare down receivers because the entire defense has their eyes on you, so you can't telegraph where the ball is going. You've got to hold it to the very last possible second. Try to freeze defenders with your eyes, and then throw the ball into open areas of the field, anticipating where your guy's going to be.
Hand off from the shotgun. He is going nowhere. Stop at the line of scrimmage. The Rebels racing to the line in the hurry-up. The give to the single back. Defense there to stop him after he picked up a yard. Ball's at the 17.
Well, man, there's some big hitting going on in the trenches right now. This defense, they take a lot of pride in stopping the run. Let's keep our eye on them throughout the course of the game and see if they can contain this running attack.
They line up with some serious work to do if they want to convert this one. 3rd and long, and he'll try to throw for it. Wide open downfield. And the catch and run into the end zone. Touchdown, Ole Miss. That was an absolute sledgehammer of a drive, just taking the air out of the ball.
And it's hard when you run that many plays not to make a mistake and throw an interception or get penalties and put you in a bad spot. The offense just strung play after play after play together and got in.
About to kick it away after scoring the touchdown. Here he comes from inside his own 5. Really disciplined job by the coverage unit to get down there and make the stop at the 19. Texas A&M has it back, and we say howdy to the Aggie offense again. Now they need to put something together to answer that last score.
There's a lot of pressure, too, on this offense to have to execute at a high level. They've got to score points, David, but they can't go too fast because their defense right now is tied.
And I think that's the difficulty being a play caller. Like, I have to balance all of those things. My defense is a little bit tired. I can't put it on the field, but I got to be aggressive because this is a back-and-forth type game, so a lot to process and think about.
Perfect play call for that big gain to open the drive. Now here they come on 1st and 10. Slings it downfield. Working that left side. Hit the gas, kid. Wide open ahead. Touchdown, Aggie. And once he got loose, it was all over.
Man, how hard is it to defend when you have a weapon like this as running back that can play wide receiver? You can design ways to get the football in his hand. Palmer, once you get it in his hands, he'll do the rest.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and oftentimes those are easier throws for quarterbacks. And these running backs, they're just naturally so good when they have the football out in space. Their vision, their creativity, their ability to make people miss. And this guy showed you right there a difficult guy to stop now if you're this defense moving forward.
And they thought about a return, they thought better of it. They'll bring it out to the 25. The Ole Miss offense ready to go back to work. There's certainly still a hill to climb. They've got to make sure these drives pay off. Got a touchdown last time. Can they back it up here?
Well, and it's amazing in a football game how sometimes they'll surprise you with what you do. Once you get settled and you realize what's going on now, I'm comfortable with it. Jesse, this offense looked comfortable on this last drive.
They sure did. It looked like they started to find some momentum. So now it's on this defense to stop that, all right? You're a little bit upset based on what just happened the previous drive. You've got to bow up again and go back to what was working earlier in this game.
They'll give it to the back. Works ahead for a couple. They'll stop him at the 27. Third down conversions, always a huge stat, and they've got a 3rd and long from the 27. From the gun, wants to pass. Starting to feel a little pressure. And the quarterback bought some time, but not enough. Down he goes with the sack.
And Andy, he's one of my favorites because he's a giant Pacific Northwest horse rider. You know, definitely in the early years. So it's number 19. On to take it away.
Slips through the line. Good job by the coverage team, and that's how we'll end the period. While we're only through one, these quarterbacks have been lighting up their stat line. They'll start the drive here with first down to open this period. The offense will have to use its first timeout of the half. Line gets set, first down. They'll go to the toss. At the 40, there he goes. He now has 108 yards on the ground, and he's been terrific all season, ranking in the top 10 in rushing.
And this guy's going to have to come through for you in this game. He picks up another first down, but he's your Heisman contender. He's the best player on your football team, and he's a guy that's just going to have to touch the ball a lot in this game if you're going to win.
They'll ride the hot hand. Can't get him to the ground. That run epitomizes a veteran, savvy senior who knows how to find space.
And I think the biggest thing for this young man is we've seen him be so great all throughout the season. How do you finish? And how do you finish decides if you win that big trophy at the end of the year. He's in the Heisman running late in the season. I bet you he'll get a lot of touches tonight.
It's going to be important this offensive line is able to get a little bit of push. Just kind of give this guy an inch, a little crease, and he can make it.
DK, someone asked, I think, Pat that. Pat said, I think it's the O.J. Simpson thing just threw me off. You said that, Pat.
No. Not the O.J. Simpson thing. Okay, check it out. I played him once in a game, and I did like a celebration on a pick six, and he got on the controller and spoke, and he just sounded like a black like, yeah, he was talking shit.
He's got Florida Panhandle, Louisiana, and Texas all over one.
He has a great voice. It's not fair.
Yeah.
By the way, don't sleep on Drew Baca. He's got some good skills with the wedges.
Yeah, and a frisbee.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, he was foot faulting a lot, but he was in the zone. I didn't want to mess his mojo up. He was over the line quite a few times. Yeah, I would never shoot darts with the guy. That's for sure.
Hey, at least I wasn't catching him in front of him. What's a bigger violation there? A total quarter inch over the line? I know that's going to get your free throws taken away off the same basket. Snatching the frisbee right out in front of the damn thing.
Your can catching skills.
They got it down to the 3. Now it's second and goal. They'll keep it on the ground looking for the end zone. And he is stopped, not getting close to the end zone. Line of scrimmage still in the 3. And here they come to give it another shot on third and goal from the 3. Slams it ahead. They bring him down, and he's going to lose a yard on that one.
You know, if you're this offense, you're dialing up this running back, man. He has been a scoring machine all season long. He just finds his way into the end zone, and this is a golden opportunity to put 6 up on the board with that guy in your backfield.
I see a look of disappointment from this kicker, but that offense is happy. They'll stay out there and go for it. Fourth and goal from the 4. They stop him short of the marker, and they'll turn it over on down.
Nice job by the defense on fourth down, going up, getting physical, stopping the run, shutting down that fourth down play. Really good job by this defense.
They're backed up, 1st and 10 from inside their own 5. Let's see if they can create some space. Out of the gun, the inside handoff, looking for a crease. What a nifty run there to pick up the first down. And the Rebels are in the hurry-up. Pulls and throws off the RPO. Crosses the 30, he's got a lane. And a pickup of better than 30 yards on that completion before the defense brings him down.
I know it's early in the game, but defensively after that play, you know you have to tackle the catch. When this guy gets the ball in his hands, he is so dangerous after the fact. So it's okay for him to make catches. Just got to get him to the ground quickly.
On the run, and he'll slide to avoid the hit. A nifty pickup there.
He does a good job of dropping back, going through his progressions. Nothing there. What do? Go get some yards. Make it positive. Don't sit back in the pocket and force something into a bad situation or take a sack. Great job making something out of nothing.
And he'll pick up the first down, but he got drilled on that tackle. Off the play fake on first down. He's going to let one fly down the middle. And that pass intercepted. And they'll close in on him after a good return on the interception.
Man, teams that play cover one at an elite level have an elite guy in the middle of the field, but he's playing zone, everybody else playing man, and he can cover so much ground. You watch him run, he breaks on the football when he needs to, goes and makes the big interception.
And the pass falls harmlessly to the ground. We'll see if the laundry is as harmless. So the decision has been made, and the coach will take the penalty. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. To the ground with the back. They bring him down, but a solid pickup to put them in position to pick up a first down. Kept it on the ground last time. Let's see if they go back to it on second down. Leaves it with the running back. Barishnikov should be so sweet. That run epitomizes a veteran, savvy senior who knows how to find space.
When you think Texas A&M football, man, you think running the football all the way back to R.C. Slocum, a great Aggie head coach. You just want to be the more physical team, and you want to be imposing your will. This guy right here toting the rock has the ability to wear and grind on defenses. He brings that physical presence to this offense.
They might have the defense's head spinning a little bit now. Hit him with a big run, now they hit him with a big pass.
Man, it's so hard to defend both. You know that. Which coverage do I want to put? Do I put more people in the box to stop the run? When you've got this kind of balance on offense, the defense can't be right.
It's a nice run there to get the first down. I got to tell you, I'm impressed with the stable of backs and the weapons this offense has. A lot of different guys can touch the football in a variety of ways, but they've been running it very, very well in this game so far.
Finds a crease at the 20. He knew exactly where he wanted to go with that one, and they've got enough for the first down.
And that's why for the offensive coordinator, you've got to find as many ways as possible to get this guy going. Just get him the ball. Close to the line of scrimmage. Doesn't need to be a throw deep down the field. He's so dynamic when he has the ball in his hands. You saw it right there.
You can hand it to him. You can throw it to him. Either way, he's making his presence felt.
Those are your favorite plays, Reese. They're him plays, right? They're finding ways to get him the ball because he can make plays, whether it's running or receiving out of the backfield. They're going to continue to highlight this guy.
They get him stopped at the 2, but it will be first and goal.
This offense has become a first down machine, and that is so demoralizing for the defense, especially for those star players that are playing tons of snaps. And
touchdown, Aggies! And they take it in for 6 more points. They want to finish the season strong, and man, are they doing that here in this Week 11 performance.
It's just so nice to have a signal caller who can make plays through the air and make plays with his feet like this. Runs in for the touchdown. The defense knows I have to account for him every play. That's my call.
Let's go to the studio now and check in with Kevin Connors. Kevin, what do you got?
Gentlemen, let's take a look at what's happening in this exciting college football game. Duke is currently working from behind, but how many times have we said that and then witnessed something special happen? This time of year, you just never know. It's a touchdown game. They're trailing by 7 to Miami. We've got our eye on this one and everything else going on throughout the day, guys.
Oh, and how about that? I know Kevin and those guys will be keeping an eye on it for us.
But, yeah, there's an extra step that you have to do for YouTube each time.
We've made our way to the 2-minute warning, and now they'll...
Has it all, like, worked out, but it is a pain in the ass. Okay, boys, we're ready.
All right. Sweet.
Cut a little something off of this lead before the break. So let's see if they can make up for that loss on 2nd down from the 18. He's looking to throw. He makes the catch close to the sticks, but he'll be a little short of the 1st down.
Great timing there on that throw by the QB on the out route. Gets it to his guy just in time. He makes the catch, and his momentum takes him out of bounds.
A 3rd and long coming up here. Leaves it with the back. They bring him down, and he's going to lose a yard on that one.
Well, the offense is trying to run the counter play into the boundary. Those pulling linemen, though, actually led extra linebackers to the point of attack, and as a result, they were able to get a tackle for loss.
4th down, and the punt team sends it the other way. He only needs a sliver of daylight. He's going to get loose. Found a lot of running room before he goes out of bounds, and what a way to build a little momentum. Texas A&M has it back on the offense, ready to go to work. How about the way they attacked the last time they had the ball, mixing run and pass and winding up in the end zone, Jesse?
That's why recruiting is so important. They've got weapons at every skill position on the field. Any of these guys is dangerous if they touch the football. Let's see what they do on this drive, David.
And so, Coleman, I got to take away something. I can't let them have everything and have success. I got to be aggressive against the run or play for the pass. I can't give them everything.
Going to work on 2nd down in the red zone, and still some ground to cover to pick up that 1st down. He'll run it again. Touchdown, Texas A&M. And they add 6 more to the board with that trip to the house.
This defense is going to have to do a better job being physical. That's 2 rushing touchdowns they've now allowed. They have got to be better close to the line of scrimmage.
The AT unit on the field. The kick is up and good, and put 1 more on the lead. They got the ball in great field position, and bam, bam, 2 plays and into the end zone. They got the late touchdown on the board, now about to kick it away and hoping the defense can keep them from answering. And it'll come out to the 25, no attempt at a return. Ole Miss ready to send the offense onto the field. Boy, they've been caught in a buzzsaw here in the 1st half, but maybe a chance to carry some momentum into the break here.
It all comes down to this drive right here, Reese. Obviously, this offense hasn't had everything go right for them in the 1st half, but here's an opportunity, David, to execute some plays, put some throws together, and generate some points.
And he throws another interception, his 3rd of the night. Not able to get loose on the return, but what a play to put his team in business at the 33.
Timing has to be so good. When you're throwing at his own defense over the middle of the field, the ball's got to come out specifically on time because these windows close really quickly. Ball there thrown a little bit late. As a result, it's an INT.
Now the pitch. And he has a solid gain before the defense bottles him up.
And That's a really nice play. It's impressive. When it's first down and the defense thinks you might be running the football, you still can line up and get some movement at the point of attack and find a little crease for your running back.
Using the quick game, the offense burns its third and final timeout of the half.
I'll tell you, for this defense, they're going to have to find a way to bracket this slot receiver because of how athletic he is. They're going to need to make sure they've got linebackers and DBs surrounding this guy at all times.
Here they come up to the 23-yard line, not thinking field goal, wanting to convert this third and short. He's going to run it. He showed it all there, a little elusiveness, a little power, and he's got the first down. This offense has been a juggernaut, and they have a chance to pad their total just before halftime. On the move. One-step wrap, two-step squeeze. This junior knows how to get him on the ground. Just enough time to get off one more snap. Dropping back, it's Damatova. They're bringing heat. He steps and powers and works his way. They finally get him down at the 2. We played 2 quarters here. Time to go to Kevin Connors in our halftime update.
Gentlemen, tough to beat the pageantry and tradition there today in Oxford. And we've got to start our halftime breakdown with this superstar running back. His elusiveness, his raw power. This young man is the total package. And his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield is a differentiator. A lot of guys can hit the hole. This kid can hit the hole and hit the home run in the passing game.
He was looking for some running room, but not much to be found as he stopped at the 18. Texas A&M has it back, and we say howdy to the Aggie offense again.
And with that, let's head back to the Grove and our fellas at Vaught Hemingway Stadium.
They'll start this drive from the 18-yard line. First play from scrimmage here in the second half, and they'll keep it on the ground. At the 35, he's loose. They'll get the first down. It's spotted on the 49.
Man, that's excellent blocking there on the left side of the line. They were able to get great push, get off the line, create a little bit of crease for that running back.
They just created a wall. He had all kinds of room to run.
Yeah, I might go back to that one and call that one again. It worked so well.
Still running at the 40. Oh, look out. Touchdown, Aggie. And the beatdown has ensued.
I love the execution on that play. Great blocking up front just to get the ball carrier an opportunity in the second level of the defense. And then at that point, it was make a guy miss and use the speed. That was a perfectly executed play.
Almost ready to kick it away after scoring the touchdown.
I think it actually looks a lot better than it has. I would just move Oregon back behind Ole Miss and Texas.
And they desperately wanted to attempt a return, but decided not to. Instead, they'll take the touchback. The Ole Miss offense ready to go back to work. Well, the good news about this drive, Jesse, it can't go worse than last time through a pick on the first play.
No, it certainly can't. I think one good way, David, to help your quarterback turn the page is just find him an easy completion here and let him get back into a rhythm.
Yeah, or find him an easy handoff. Just hand the football off, maybe get the ground game going, maybe jumpstart this offense a little bit.
I'll say this, man. In college football, you see a lot of bad tackling. You didn't see it right there. That was an awesome job. First off, being there at the point of attack. Once the tight end made the catch, there was no doubt he was going down. Great job form tackle.
And he gets it up to the 36. It'll be a first down.
Well, the offense knew what they needed to get that first down, so they got...
He was in a good spot. I would have expected maybe a little bit more love for a team like Central Michigan than they got. Well, I didn't expect them, to be necessarily sniffing playoff contention. I thought they would be just outside. So to see them another couple notches back surprised me. But other than that, see that they, kept teams like BC and acknowledge their good season. Yeah, see, got North Carolina and Miami set the ACC, despite that tumultuous end to the season, has pretty decent representation.
BC beat me again. I don't understand why he's behind me, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Pat, when I was initially voting, a lot of times at the bottom, I go and I'll start slotting teams in so I don't forget them.
first I had Boston College behind you. But then, obviously, when I get closer to it, that was the first thing I thought of, is obviously you two played each other.
Yeah.
Just enough to keep the drive alive.
I remember at the beginning of the season.
Now from the 36-yard line, it's 1st and 10. Might as well give it to him again.
I never know if it's grammatically correct to say a team is being out-physicaled. I hear it a lot in football, though. That's happening in this game. They are just not getting the push they need all game long up front to have any success when they decide to run it.
Running back goes in motion. You want to make sure to maximize those types of runs, and he gets it out to the 41. They've got it at the 41, 3rd and short, trying to keep the chains moving. From the gun, wants to pass. He finds his man. And the defense makes the immediate tackle, but he has enough for the 1st down.
As a quarterback, that's why I love the slant throw, because it can work 3rd and short. It can also work 3rd and medium. By the time the receiver catches that ball, he's by the sticks. It's a great play to go out and execute against a lot of different defenses and a lot of different down distances.
Can't hang on across the middle on 1st down, and maybe he was worried about the shot he was going to take.
Man, those are frustrating because you know you're supposed to catch that. You're supposed to secure it. It's going to happen, but it's just frustrating for those receivers. Just tap the chest. My bad, dog.
Swings it out to his running back. He's there to make the stop, and they threw it in reverse, losing yardage on that play.
Now, on offense, you're trying to get your running back involved here in the passing game, and obviously no success on that play. Defense seemed like they were aware of it, and all of a sudden you've set yourself up in a tough position here on 3rd.
On 3rd and long, doesn't need to take the check down. And this is dropped. Incomplete pass. He had a huge gain in his fingers, and he couldn't hold on. The Rebels will punt it away on 4th down. A fairly short distance here toward the sidelines, not his best work. Texas A&M has it back in the offense, ready to go to work.
We want to ask the audience, maybe, what they want.
Opening play of this drive comes from the 26-yard line. One back in the backfield, and they'll give it to him. At the 40, there he goes. Flying down the left side. 10. Touchdown, Aggie. And the punishment has been extended.
Man, this guy is such a weapon because he's so dangerous if he gets into the 2nd level. Great vision, and then David shows you the speed.
Just straight wheels, erasing angles. A lot of times when you're chasing guys that are so fast like this, you're like, I got him, I got him. No, I do not. What a big, long touchdown run. Pad those stats, young fella.
There's an opening for inside the NDL, man. Contact him. So we'll just jump into, hey, remember, I want everyone's rankings the seeding is different than the rankings. I'll show you the seedings after we do complete
Ready to try the point after. And the extra point will tack another one onto this lead. And let's check in with Kevin Connors in the studio. Kevin?
All right, guys, a little update on what else is happening in college football this weekend. Duke is currently working from behind, but how many times have we said that and then witnessed something special happen? This time of year, you just never know. They're trailing by 10 to Miami. We are the eyes and ears of the college football fan, and we've got you covered all day here in studio, guys.
And how about that one? Kevin will be keeping an eye on everything going on elsewhere. Out of the gun to give to the back. Works ahead for a couple. They'll stop him at the 27.
And the defense is doing a great job committing to the run. When you commit to the run like this, obviously you can give up some plays in the passing game, but you got to stop the run first.
From the gun, running back on the move. They bring him down, and he's going to lose a yard on that one.
It's a bad sign on offense when you have that many people running free at your running back. That means guys up front aren't getting their blocks. Just too many hats getting to the ball carrier. I love his effort, making multiple guys miss, but still, it's a negative play.
He'll try to pop the draw. And his molars are probably rattling after that big hit, but he did get the first down.
Man, who says you can't run the middle anymore, right? Everybody thinks I got to make big plays. I got to go way out to the left, way out to the right, way out in space. Nope, right down the middle. Nice blocking. How about the running back? You could tell the speed, the wheels, does a great job getting down the field, making a huge rushing play.
After picking up a couple at 2nd and 8. They'll ride the running back and leave it with it. Nice, solid form tackle from this sophomore. Wow, this offense is doing nothing. They've already punted 4 times and staring at the possibility of a 5th. And the defense is all over the quarterback, and down he goes.
This has been a frustrating day, and I'm not sure it's going to get any better. You're already down huge. Listen, this offense can't protect this quarterback. They don't do anything right now. This defense has had their number all game long.
Let's see what he can do with it. Makes a move. Touchdown, Aggies! A dynamic, explosive return. The sliver of daylight exploding through it, just vaporizing and reappearing on the other side and housing it.
And punt returners are so quick, you can play touch.
We may see that very argument take place. Number 4 ranked team in the NDL CFB is the Texas Longhorns. Coach Jiggy over there, 11-1. Not a lot of people I have not heard from a lot of people's mouth that Texas had a legitimate shot to win the college football championship. That Texas roster is loaded, and so it'll be exciting to see how Texas competes in the college football playoff. Is that any shocker to see Texas over a team like Oregon that went undefeated?
Absolutely not. No.
Number 5 ranked team in the CFB is going to be your Colorado Buffaloes. Coach Andy over there, Big 12 champion, 12-1 record. And Penguin, you played over there in the Big 12. Does that surprise you seeing them at the 5 seed?
No. At the end of the day, they had a pretty strong schedule for the most part, and they took care of business. They had a couple close calls, but in the end, you win 12 games. I think they're in a well-deserved spot there.
We'll go down. How far should I go down? Should I just go down to the 8th team and then go back up?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, the top 8's pretty, obvious, but yes.
Okay. So the number 6 team is your Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Coach Rain, 11-1. A big marquee win over, who was his loss to?
Georgia, first game of the season.
Yeah, okay.
The game we picked him to win.
Yeah, we picked against Coach DK
With them and you lose. You can't even get your hand on those. So quick, so elusive. Does such a great job making people miss, but still going full speed up the field to get all the way to the end zone and score the TD.
Lining up to tack one more onto that lead.
Dominoes in that conference weird this year. Oregon doesn't play.
And with the extra point, they push the lead out a little further.
Oregon doesn't play USC.
Man, you just can't put a price on having a guy like that back there to return punts, and he turned that one into a touchdown. The kickoff team is out there after that punt return for a touchdown. They'll try to pin him deep. And no chance at a return here. They'll start this drive at their own 25. Ole Miss ready to send the offense onto the field. That last drive fizzled out, Jesse. They had to punt it.
Yeah, they did. And David, they're just going to have to do a better job this time around erasing the mental mistakes.
And just trying to solve the defensive riddle, understanding what they're trying to do to you and attack them.
Handoff from the gun. Ripping off a pretty good chunk of yardage. They've got it out to the 41 with a first down.
And that is just an attitude run. Running it right up the middle, right into the teeth of that defense.
They couldn't draw up a better way to start a drive, and now they've got it 1st and 10 from the 41. Might as well run him until they stop him. He's got it again. He's dropped behind the line of scrimmage. That'll be a loss of 3. That linebacker saw the express lane right to the ball carrier.
And a great job by the defensive line, getting some push, making them use their resources on him. Linebacker comes free, getting him making the backfield for a tackle for a loss.
Trying the left side. And the ball is loose and live in the backfield. Defense coming up with a huge fumble recovery.
I love those smashes where you can hear it up here, Reese. Goodness gracious, you can hear the contact. Such a big lick. The offensive guy doesn't hold on to the football. Huge momentum swing, big turnover forced by the defense.
Back to the ground game on the left. Across the 25, he's got room. And he will finally go out of bounds after another big gain, and they are absolutely gashing them with this running game. On 1st and 10, trying to strike from the 15.
I think he's where he needs to be.
To the ground, he's got it again. They get him on the ground, but not before he rumbles all the way to the 5.
There's really no secret to it, David.
But congrats to him. Just another great player we've added that's probably going to have a great team next season. It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, I think Andy's little calculations for over-under, I would probably put any of the teams he's going to face in the CFP is probably going to be a 40-point Philly, 40-plus point underdogs.
Just complete and utter dominance in this one. Outplayed their opponent and took care of business.
Yeah, total domination in all 3 phases of the game. Offense, defense, and special teams. This team came ready to play, and man, it was pedal to the metal.
Yeah, I mean,
I can throw the ball.
Yeah, he scored 71 points this season in a 2-point win over East Carolina.
I haven't seen a better player in the pocket than him in the last few seasons. Like with the quarterback, have you watched him play? He hangs in there, yeah.
Yeah, his quarterback can sling it. Yeah, so we'll jump down here to the 15 team. The 15 team is the USC Trojans. Pat's favorite real-life team. Jackson with a great season there, 10-2. Pat, does that sting a little bit, or is it kind of cool seeing them in the top 15?
Oh, it's always good to see him there because they may never venture down that way ever again, it feels like, in real life. So, yeah, good to see him. How about Texano? We talk about it a lot, but what an improved player. Just another outstanding season, and congrats to him on playing with a really fun team. Zachariah Branch, huge season. But, yeah, always glad to see the Trojans doing well.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to 9. This is just that word from Homie. Homie wants us to just scroll straight down to the talking point. And so we know USC's out. We'll go for the next team that's in, the number 9 team in the LCFP ranking is your Missouri Tigers. 11-1 this season. Coach MJ Kemp, a lot said skip and missed out on a lot of the better SEC teams, but he put together an 11-1 season in the toughest schedule in the conference in the NBL. Do you guys think that that's too high or too low or right around where he should have been?
I mean, it's tight. It's apples and oranges, really, with that rating. I think, Missouri beats FAU on a game head-to-head, but that's not what they rated on. So, yeah, he's about where he needs to be. Like you said, he does avoid a ton of tough games in the SEC.
I mean, even though they didn't play everyone, they gave a good accounting of themselves every time out. And they won, 11 games? So, yeah, I don't think there can be any complaints about where they ended up.
Lost to our number 1 overall team, I believe, by a 2-point conversion or something like that, right?
That was a very competitive game.
Yeah, 38-37 against our Alabama, the SEC champion.
Yeah.
And then he was able to beat Oklahoma, which obviously is a big game for him. That was probably a playoff game for him, and he came out and tried to handle business in that game. So it'll be really interesting. Also, we talked about Clemson with a great round game. I'm sure his running back there was probably right there on the high school.
If he were on the ballot.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't on the high school ballot. All the other running backs out.
Yeah.
I think that was big guy all season and his little Heisman stuff that he put out. The team here in the NDL College Football Playoff is your LSU Tigers. Obviously, Coach Bucknut's a former champ. I think he pulled the trifecta. Didn't he win both of them last year? The BC Cup and the championship?
I think so.
Yeah. Coach LSU, Coach Bucknut with LSU there in 10-2 in the SEC. Kind of a down season, many would probably say. Do you think he's right about where he should be, Pat, or do you think he should have been a little lower?
Again, maybe resume is where he's at, but I mean, I think he beats Missouri and Florida Atlantic, but that's not what they're rating. So he's right where he would be if you're looking at a resume of just a team, no coach, nothing. Just, yeah.
Yeah, he did, at the end of the day, only play 3 ranked opponents, technically, even though the SEC. But he did good count, and he dispatched the Gators, who were a fringe playoff team all season as well.
Yeah, I mean, just to go back to Missouri, I think Missouri probably should have been above Florida Atlantic, just based upon the resume alone. But I do think that LSU's about where they should have been, around that 10 or 11 mark. Maybe the same things you just said, Pat. I mean, Penguin, his big win was the Florida win, who was a fringe playoff team. Even with 5 losses, his resume still looks pretty good. I was never for a 5-loss team. But really interesting to see if he can make a run here. Out of all the teams that are going to be these lower seeds, he's probably the one I'd want to face the least. The most experience with his team, had a lot of success with his team, and so he's probably the guy that I would want to face the least if I was a higher seed.
Yep. You also got to think for a returning champ. The returning champ have any more to prove than he does, and there were those 2 losses and behind all these. So, I mean, if they needed any motivation, you got to think they have it there.
The one thing, though, is he will have to go on the road, I'm assuming, right? The first game?
Yeah, and so I'm not sure if it's a neutral site.
No, the opening game is home team's host.
Home game, yeah. So he would.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, you're right. At least you're not playing at Death Valley.
I'm pretty sure he has the number 1 home field advantage in the entire game, right?
Yeah, so you do take that away from him a little bit. And obviously in years past, he's had that to his benefit. Well, not really, because he's always been kind of bye, I think.
Right.
But we'll go down. We're going to go back down here. We're just following homie's recommendation here. We're going to go back from the bottom to the top now. And that'll kind of round us out to the last 2 teams that are in the college football playoff. So the second team out in our college football playoff is your Northwestern Wildcats. Coach Study over there at 11-1. Same scenario as we talked about with Missouri. Did avoid a lot of better teams in his conference and did not play in his conference championship game. What are your thoughts here, Penguin?
I think it's bullshit. I think it's an absolute travesty to win 11 games in a group of 5 conference and to be out in favor of, teams for certain with more than 1 loss who didn't make their conference championship game as well.
And I didn't know this until this morning when I was doing some research on win-losses and opponent records, and I know we take that at face value.
tough, but there's talk in the chat, and it's been going on for weeks. It's just a perfect storm of just it being so far down. It's just not very good. The Big Ten championship game, which again we do have to watch the games a little bit, was a total stinker of a game. Let's be honest. And that's the best that they could throw out there against Oregon. Not pretty. And if you lose to that Iowa team by that, you're out, in my opinion. Quarterback or not, that's on you. Don't break the rules.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Ohio State thing, too, is huge. Ohio State obviously didn't do them any favors in the Big Ten. Obviously, going 0-12 doesn't help. And then all the other teams kind of have a subpar season. And his out-of-conference schedule. And for face value, we would have said Coach Metro, to use a great coach, had lots of success, been in the college football playoff when he was in the SEC. It takes over at Stanford, and many thought that would probably be a pretty good matchup, right? Northwestern, Stanford, out of conference. Northwestern played at home. He ended up winning by 10, and then Coach Metro was 5-7 at Stanford. So that doesn't, obviously a subpar season for him. That's his worst season since joining the NDL. So we'll move on to the number 13 team in the NDL college football playoff ranking. This is the first team out. And so it's going to be your Tennessee Volunteers. Coach Vegas put together a 9-3 season there in Tennessee. Many said that game against Clemson was a college football playoff game for him. And it kind of, Pat, you brought it up with the Big Ten championship game. That game felt like a championship game. Lots of eyes on the game, and that was a negative game. It was bad. Tennessee didn't look like they had any fight left in them, and I'm not sure if it was just a total long season. But what are your guys' thoughts on Tennessee being out?
I'd say it is correct. At the end of the day, their schedule featured 3 teams that are ranked presently, and those are the 3 games they lost. You got to pass one of those tests to really have a good argument. You have that many losses, and they didn't pass any of those, so they don't belong in.
Yeah, I disagreed with it at first, but then when you dive deeper into the actual data of everything, it actually makes sense him at 13 now that I've had a little time to process it, because I think Tennessee would beat these next 2 teams that are coming out on the field to play, but that's just not what they're ranking. Tim had to remind me of that, and I was on the damn committee, because when you first see it, you're like, what? Yeah, I will continue my point further when the next 2 teams are shown.
So your last team in the college football playoff, your number 12 team, is your Utah Ute. Coach Marion County over there at 10-2 on the season in the Big 12. Peyton, when you play in the Big 12, give us some insight into Utah being the last team in.
I think they belong as a fringe team. They're definitely very tough opponents. Could have, the 2 games they did drop, they were in at least one of them. And, I can see a case being made for them. Much like Tennessee, and today, 2 ranked teams lost to both of them. So, gotta circle back for a second and touch on the way we judge a team like Northwestern. They all, these 3 teams all have in common no wins over ranked opponents. So that helped but think, part of this has to do with people truly looking at it and saying, despite the fact we're not going, would this team beat that team? Certainly seems like that is a factor in how these decisions are made to a degree.
Utah's a weird team for me. I think Tennessee today would beat them in a neutral game. They're, like Penguin said, they're 2 ranked wins to end the season, too. I always like a team that's playing well at the end of the season. Lost 2 in a row. Frankly, did not look good against Iowa State. Iowa State, in my opinion, kind of dominated the entire game from start to finish, really. And, yeah, I just think Tennessee would beat Utah, but that's not what they have to look at. So they obviously put a lot of weight into the Big 12 this year. The Big 12, sneaky good conference at the top this year, though. Should definitely be pointed out. Their top 5 teams in there. Steamroller's a good player. Like, he's very good. And, you know, getting a win over him, which you'll see here coming up, will get you in.
I had a hard time with Utah one. I think this is, you know, I Drew's on here, Big's on here, and so I don't mean this in any harm, but a little bit of harm. I think this was their biggest swing and miss in the college football playoff, and the reason being is Utah couldn't beat a team that played in the Big 12 championship game. And Pat, you touched on it. The game wasn't close. Iowa State beat Utah, plays in their championship game. They lose to arguably what obviously the committee put as a top 4 team in Colorado, and you left Utah, and you left Iowa State out with 4 losses. Understand it, you can't put Utah in there because Iowa State beat Utah. Utah doesn't
I have to take and accept the level of blame. We laid an egg versus Kansas State. Had we won that game, we'd have an argument, but we screwed the pooch, and we, you know, got what we deserved.
But what I'm getting at is that if you're going to leave Tennessee out, who plays in arguably the toughest conference in the NDL, at least 3 losses, how do you put in a Utah team? I know they only have 2 losses, but they don't have a single marquee win, and they lost to a team that played in their conference championship. And so I just
they have the same conference record as Tennessee. Just take it like this, okay? Same conference record as Tennessee. Tennessee in a way harder league. And Tennessee has that Clemson game, so he's like challenging himself. Now this is going to make people not want to go out and challenge themselves, because basically scheduling Clemson instead of, I don't know,
Minnesota.
Yeah, sure, and he's just not very, or, you know, one of his friends or whatever people do. Then, you know, that's crazy to me. That, you know, that it sounds like he got punished for the Clemson game, Tennessee.
Yeah, I think this was their biggest swing and miss was Utah. We'll go to the next team. We got people asking questions. People kind of already know who's in. Arguably back to the Utah thing, only because I'm seeing the chat now, is I would have put Tennessee, Northwestern, or USC in over Utah. Because you left Iowa State out, which has 4 losses, which Penguins already addressed that. But I just don't see how you put a Utah team in that couldn't beat a team that played in their championship game. And I would say the same for Northwestern. I wouldn't vote Northwestern in because of the same scenario. But here we go. The number 11 team is your Texas Tech Red Raiders. Coach Wilds over there putting together a wonderful season out there. I think that this was a no-brainer when I looked at the resume. I was talking yesterday, and even on PTD, I mentioned that Texas Tech would be in because their resume, when I went and looked at it, is actually a very good resume. What are your thoughts of your Penguins keeping it?
Well, I think if we'd had chaos like a lot of us had hoped for in the conference championship games, Texas Tech would have been I don't know, maybe not. But given that there wasn't, like you said, it's definitely a no-brainer. Their schedule in the day features 3 ranked teams. They won a tough game against Cincinnati. They frankly kicked our asses, and they were right there with Colorado in that game. That was a heck of a slugfest. So yeah, they definitely belong, and I think you know, I think this is a team to not only belong. I think this is a good wild card to look at in the playoffs, depending on how the draw worked out of someone who you don't necessarily want to play.
Now, what are your thoughts, Pat, on Texas Tech maybe?
In my opinion, should have been the last team in. Tennessee in front of him. That's just the way I would look at it, or have argued it if I was on the committee. But he should definitely be in when you really look at it. He won his ranked games. Like, he won tough games when he was supposed to. So we need to reward that, and they did. So if you're looking at a resume, you look at those 2 ranked wins. You hate to see 2 sim wins on the schedule, but both against teams that are not that great. But you always want it to play out on the field. But at Cincinnati, and then like Penguin said, at home against Iowa State, and convincingly, he should be the 12th seed. But 11 works.
And so this is kind of how it all shakes out. Obviously, you guys can see it here on the screen. Notre Dame, I'm just going to start from left to right. Actually, I'll make it easier. If I do that, it's going to confuse people that are just listening. So Alabama, the number 1 overall seed, they're going to have a bye. They'll play the winner of the Missouri-Florida Atlantic game. Vic, how are you doing today? I know you're on a bunch of media shows and stuff, so everyone kind of knows your name and your voice. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Doing good. So did you get any sleep last night? What time were you guys up till?
We debated. I was ready for 90 minutes. Debated for 65. So we was up until we debated until after 10 o'clock.
11 o'clock Eastern time, yeah, that's your time, so.
And how many meetings did you guys have?
3.
Okay. So, Vic, before we jump into college football playoff, I'll just get some of the questions rolling. I know Pat and Payman are going to jump in here, too. I just kind of find out a little bit about yourself first before we talk about the college football playoff. Is how do you come in contact with the league, the NBL, and what season did you join?
Joined in season 29, midway through season 29. Got in contact with the league just off of random Twitter search. And the first post was about the NBL. I looked at it. I said, fill out an application. That's interesting. I like interesting. So I filled out an application. Nittler contacted me through Discord. I joined through the forum. I was in the forum for a little bit, and then once I had about 4 or 5 games in the forum, I got called up to the NBL midway through season 29.
Hey Vic, how are you doing this morning?
I'm alright.
Alright. We've had a couple good games ourselves in the past, and this season, to be part of the committee, what would you just touch on that moment? What would you say is one of the tougher things to figure out in these seedings this year?
The toughest thing is resume. Because we had a lot of easy schedules this season. People didn't challenge themselves and out of conference. So that kind of made it harder.
And Vic, I've been in the room before. What was the biggest debate? Which maybe seed took the longest? Because I know how you guys vote on it and things like that. Which one took the longest?
The last 5. So the 7th seed of Oregon took the longest. We were debating Oregon, SAU, and Missouri. That was the longest debate.
Gotcha.
So, Vic, you mentioned about the out-of-conference scheduling and how no one's challenged themselves or anything. What about the Tennessee-Clemson matchup?
We took that in the hand. That's why Tennessee was the last team out. We took a part of it in the hand. We didn't knock him for that because he did challenge himself, unlike some of the other teams that are in the playoffs. So we took that very seriously.
I'm going to ask some hard questions here. You said you guys did punish them for that out-of-conference matchup, but there's no way that you could tell me that there's a better 3-loss team in the NDL than Tennessee. And so, if they don't play Clemson and they play some other school and take a win, they finish with 2 losses, you still would have them out there?
I wouldn't say I would have them out. It's kind of hard to put in a 3-loss team. That's like 6 or 7 getting off in their own conference. But the SEC is a different breed of conference. So, it would have been a tough decision. I don't think he would have played necessarily a easier team. I think because Vegas has scheduled hard throughout this past season anyway. So, I don't think he would have had like an easy win or automatic win if he didn't other factors to go into it, and then once we considered everything, every criteria that was a part of the committee's list, Utah happened to come in.
So Vic, explain to me just in the team face-to-face matchup here. Why we'll push Tennessee to the side for a moment here. Explain to me why Utah deserves to be in over Northwestern.
If we're saying who would be who, is that the question?
No, that is not the question.
Okay.
From my understanding, that is not part of the factors for how we determine this.
Okay. So, say the question one more time for me.
Why is Utah in versus Northwestern? If we're picking between these two teams, why is Utah in, not Northwestern?
Why is Utah in over Northwestern? Because when talking about it, they lost to an Iowa team by 30 points. And why they lost to an Iowa team is because they broke an NDL rule the previous game. And so where I'm thinking, in my head, this is just my personal opinion, if that wouldn't have happened, Northwestern would have been undefeated and would have been in the playoff and in the Big Ten. So the egg that he laid at Iowa did him in. And Ohio State, bowing out as well.
So, part of that just kind of logically seems to contradict itself to me. So you're saying that Northwestern, who was serving a punishment in that game versus Iowa, lost that game badly, and that they're punished for that loss being bad when they were handicapped, even though it was, their own fault.
It's their own fault, exactly. There you go. It's their own fault. They got punished.
It is their own fault they got punished. And that's why that game wasn't competitive. So you're still punishing them for that game not being competitive?
He punished himself.
I'm definitely drawing a very different conclusion and perspective with the way you're explaining it.
If we're gonna follow the NDL way, that's reported as far as overall, like not playoffs and stuff like that, but overall as far as competition. If you break a rule, you get punished. He got punished.
And he did get punished. And you're telling me you all punished him again.
How long he got punished at the absolute wrong time, and he lost. Plus, he didn't play anybody. He has his strength of schedule is maybe worse. It's not just slightly better than Oregon, and Oregon's was horrible.
Okay. We talked about who didn't play and whatnot. So we're rewarding teams who, when they did play good teams, lose those games. Even though, playing a good schedule, sure, should matter. But if you lose those games, how is that a positive? And what I would call not a great team, a good team. Look at you. My point is then going back to Utah. Look at Utah's schedule. The two, arguably, best teams they played, they lost to. They did not beat any good teams. Neither did Northwestern.
Exactly.
Vic, when you guys were talking, and I'll try to make sure that a lot of what you're saying is probably your opinion for the most part in the committee room, like how you view things. What was your argument? Like, did you think Utah should have been in here? Is that what your thought process was? Is that Utah should have been in here, or did you think a different team deserved this close spot?
You're asking me personally?
Yes, correct. Yeah, not the committee as a whole. I don't want you to speak for them.
Me personally, you would speak for them.
Okay. I just want to hear the argument USC versus Utah. You're speaking to the committee right now. What was your for USC being?
The schedule, play better team, has a ranked win, actually has a ranked road win at that. So that was my case.
It's actually a good question. other people don't take into account. Like, it's just, you know, that's why they're a committee, right? And not just, you know, they speak to each other. So, Vic, I'm going to transition just for 1 second. Did you enjoy being on the playoff? Was it different than you thought it would be? And would you do it again?
I would do it again, and I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I love the difference of opinions from everybody like that, and we can come together from an agreement of a team. I like the process.
Yeah, it's crazy we went from a computer doing this the first season to now, you know, guys taking their own personal time. Look at that on a Friday night last night. You guys rock. And it's definitely not easy. I definitely agree with Penguin and Tim. No offense to the committee, and you know, they can dig in more on it. But I think it's a little interesting that Utah gets in over Tennessee. But you guys probably looked at more data than I did. Than you know, when you're actually on the committee, you dig into the data more.
At one time, Tennessee was best with a spot.
Yeah, it sounds like, and don't take this the wrong way because I agree with it. It sounds like optically you guys didn't. It sounds like in the room we didn't want to have a 3-loss team in the playoff. Is that what I'm kind of grabbing from the situation?
That's what it seems like from everyone else. It was kind of hard putting in a 3-loss team over a 1-loss team per se in Northwestern, and those 2 quality 2-loss teams in USC.
Yeah, I get the optics of the 3-loss team. Like, hey, and Tim has said it in a different show once with us, or maybe it was last week. You know, he had his chances to beat those teams. So his season is like a playoff, and he lost 3 of them, so he shouldn't get in. He had 3 chances. So I understand that part of it.
Yeah, Vic, I like that explanation, and Pat, that's a great question to put in a little bit of context. That I'm okay with the committee coming out and saying, or members of the committee speaking individually, coming out and saying, you know, I had a really hard time putting a 3-loss team in there. I don't care who they lost to. Don't have a problem with that, really, because that puts more weight on your game, on your games in the season, and I like that. I think that's what we miss a little bit about the BCS era, is that there was so much weight on those regular season games to where if you slipped up and lost to a Kansas State, right? And when we talk about, like, that's your season. But, like, I'll speak on my own behalf as a Washington State Cougar coach. And we lost to Big Z, who's a wonderful coach, great game. When we lost to them, we knew that was our season. Going into the very beginning of the season, we knew we needed to run the table to have any shot at the college football playoff. And so, even in the SEC, man, 3 losses has got to be that window. There's got to be a breaking point, because I said it on the show the other day. If you go look at Florida's resume and you just take out, I know Penguin don't take out losses, but if you put your hand over their losses and you just look at their resume, they have a resume that's better than Tennessee. They have more losses. And so, but we obviously don't want to put a team in that has 4 or 5 losses in the college football playoff, because then we take away so much value from the regular season.
Tim, can I jump in and say one more quick thing that I meant to say? Hey, by the way, back to the playoff committee, guys. Like, this is what's so funny. When the playoff had 4 teams, the big debate was who the 4th team was. When they moved to 8 teams, the big argument is who the 8th team is. You move to 12 teams, people are going to argue who the last team in is. It's just the way. If you went to 16 teams, someone's going to be pissed off on who 17 is. Like, it's just the way playoffs work. So,
I'm going to piggyback on that for a second and say, yeah, that is absolutely true and agree. And if we were talking, you know, let's say 4 or even 8 teams, yeah, I get a lot of these conversations. But we're sitting here all the way at 12 and telling the team that won 11-1 in the group of 5 conference that, like, nah, that's not enough. And putting in multiple teams with worse records than them. Nah, man, I'm... Numbers aren't everything. You would think numbers being wins would be some of those, but evidently those aren't as important.
Maybe do you think maybe this is not their intention? I don't think this would be the intention of the college football playoff committee, because it does change every year. But do you think the result of their results is going to speak volumes to people scheduling at a conference? And you do have to find that happy medium of challenging yourself if you're going to lose a game, right? A 12-0 scenario than 11-1 left out of this college football playoff championship. And so,
yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, so will this maybe speak volumes to, hey, you're not going to run the table. I don't care what conference you play in. You're going to have to find the happy medium of playing someone good out of conference. Because Northwestern did, right? And so they don't, like you talked about, Penguin, is that we have a lot of these 12, 13, 14, 15 teams. Let's take Tennessee out because they did challenge themselves out of conference, right? They beat the Mountain West Conference champion. They played the number 2 team in the nation. But if you take Tennessee out of it, none of the other teams really challenge themselves out of conference. And so
if Utah's 2 losses were tough non-conference games they had scheduled, would feel completely different.
100%. That's what. And so, say maybe the statement or take away from this may be, hey, that was the biggest difference maker this year was the out-of-conference scheduling, and you've got to win, but you got to find that happy medium, right? Tennessee maybe doesn't go play Clemson. They go play a mid-team in the ACC, and they beat them. Maybe that's the difference in the whole thing. You know, they obviously go out and challenge themselves to play Clemson, but like Iggy brought up in the chat, is if he wins that game, that bolts him up into the top 10, right? And that's Clemson all the way down. Who knows where they would land? Yeah. No, Vic, we really appreciate you being on the show. I know these are always tough questions, and obviously it's easy for us to armchair your guys' decision in that college football playoff. But like Pat brought up, there's a lot of personalities in there, a lot of opinions, and it can always be tough to come to a conclusion. We completely understand that. And so we really appreciate being on the committee and volunteering your time. You guys don't get paid to do anything. So we really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. It was fun. Like I said,
It's now time to select your team. Do you want to build a team from the ground up or take over an established contender? Pay attention to each team's prestige rating, represented by the number of stars next to each team's name. Teams with a higher prestige will be ready to compete for the college football playoff right away, while lower prestige teams provide a greater challenge to build into contenders. The choice is up to you.
Someone would be hard-headed in there, and everyone kind of agreed at the end of the day.
yeah, we kind of came to a conclusion. Like, you know, we put heads on stuff. But, I mean, after a while, you kind of look at stuff and like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, Vic, coming on the show this morning. You can stick around and give your insights on the college football games, and we talk about the 4 matchups that we'll see first. And next, we're going to bring on a NDL convention fan favorite, Mr. Drew Baca. How are you doing today, Drew?
Boys, what's up? Been a little wet here in the Northeast, but we're happy to be on game day. My NDL media
Man, we really appreciate that. I just want to point out this morning that Pat just came to realization that is actually your face print posed on Chewbacca's body, and so Pat's just realizing that this morning, which is pretty cool.
I couldn't believe it. Some guys are better than me at the AI thing, but I'm not a Photoshop guy, so all credit to AI for my instructions and putting my face beautifully on a Chewbacca.
And now you'll choose where to start. Here, you'll choose to create a coach of your own or use an existing one. By creating a custom coach, you will be able to fully customize your coach's backstory, starting skills, and look, while existing coaches will come with an established set of skills and team bonuses to begin your... Congratulations!
As soon as I saw it, I said, I gotta get on that. From the Northeast, you know, college football isn't quite the cultural thing up here that it is in the South. So, plenty of friends that play the game, but nobody plays it or takes the game as serious or as passionately as me. So, when I found a group like this and what you guys had going on, it was exactly what I was looking for. There's no way I was getting in on that. So, put my application in as soon as I saw Niddler's an invitation.
Sure. Thanks for joining us this morning. It's a pleasure to hear your melodic voice. Now, obvious question here. What is explain the origin to us of Aka and the being incorporated into your name? Where does that all come from? Is it a nickname or?
Well, it's kind of a self
very similar to my naming origin story as well. Well, we'll jump right into a couple tough questions. Obviously, these last couple seeds, the last seed specifically, there got a little bit of contention over it. Now, we've talked about Utah versus Tennessee, Utah versus Northwestern, and then heard a case being made for USC. Explain to me, in your terms, or however you want to put it, why that, that strength of schedule is that much more important than a team that we're talking teams that have different records here. So I understand the strength of schedule being a tipping factor if you're saying both teams won the same number of games. But why does strength of schedule evidently matter that much more when you're comparing teams that did not win the same number?
Out of 7 people on the committee, though, not wanting Utah, and I would love to hear what the other 4 had to say about it. Or 5, excuse me, math is hard.
So, and here's something I'll touch on. Like, this is something that I wrote down that I've thought about. This is the angle where I think you start to talk about these lower teams. So let's talk about how FAU ended up number 8, and not just FAU, but in general for the CFB Group 5 team. To me, they're your linchpin. You have to put in the G5 team somewhere. Usually, you're going to have everybody ahead of the G5 team seems logical. Once you put your G5 team ranked in there, for me, how you get into that hole
like where they're ranked or agree, but the end all is, well, they're a Power 4 team, it makes sense. But P5 enters the conversation. Anybody following that, it's like cannon fodder. You're fair game for anybody to denigrate why you're there, say somebody else is there. So that's really where I was fine 1 through 6, but you talk about 10 through 12, I'd argue 7 through 12 was not easy.
I gotta interject. You gotta tell the story of how we got to the 8-9.
Yeah, so, and so that's, yeah, so, as talked about it, Penguin brought it up too, like, that he tries to be totally objective and just go off the resume. So obviously that's not, well, you can't, top teams, it's okay. The bottom of the resumes get murky, and so that's where you start the whole projection game. You try to leave your biases out of it, but there was a couple people that stood completely firm on, well, FAU has the better resume than Oregon, and I 100% agree. And I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate. I don't know where you start that middle ground yet, but talent composite matters too, right? Just because Oregon played a weak schedule doesn't mean that they're not still a talented team. And this whole conversation is so hard because it's between the best teams or most deserving teams. FAU is still one of our best teams this season. Most deserving, they're not probably the 8th best team. They're one of the best teams who also deserve that. So some people would not move off of that. Others of us thought 5 team probably should be a little lower. But at the end of the day, I guess what we came down to was when we ranked this, we ended up with FAU 8, Missouri 9. We're going to have to play each other anyway. So we kind of just decided if they're going to end up playing each other, we'll give the hat tip to FAU on pretty stellar season. So it was kind of that whole give and take to the committee where some people said, yeah, I'll roll with that. So FAU got the higher seed based off of strong convictions and willingness to recognize a pretty damn good season to jump.
And Drew, I got a couple thoughts to throw in there.
Sure.
Now Tennessee, I bet Tennessee over Utah. I understand that argument, even though I personally definitely would not put Tennessee in. But still, explain to me where the juice comes for the argument for Tennessee if you remove, let's say Tennessee versus Utah. We're looking at those schedules and we take the losses out, just the games they've won. Where, and the same, let me back it up. The same for any of these teams we're debating about. If we remove the games that they actually lost, because those were almost all versus good teams, these schedules really still match up in a way that it makes sense to Utah to be in over these two? Or is this a case where you say, no, that rest of that SEC schedule is enough, in your opinion, that should boost the Tennessee over Utah?
I'm not even, so I don't, this is where it gets hard, right? And so even from 6th to committee head, there is a point where when you get down, and this is where I'm not going contentious, but these were debate points as well, right? When you get down to these final teams, it is acceptable to start taking into account not just their resume, but team talent and the coach as well. So there is an aspect there, and some people did touch on that, right? Because when you start is Utah really a better team than Tennessee? If Tennessee played Utah today, win. So for those last few teams, and I would say specifically Tennessee and Utah, because we all, maybe which seed, maybe not, but we all agree that Texas Tech was in. So I'm glad you're talking Tennessee, Utah, because that really is teams to debate. Now, it's interesting because I actually wrote down, for me, Utah, the Northwestern really should come back in. To me, I love the in real life comparison as well. Northwestern is last year's Indiana, if you ask me. Now, if they had gone to the Big Ten championship game instead of Iowa, Northwestern becomes last year's SMU. There's interesting conversations there because I actually hate this about real life. I I agree.
Yeah. Your point there on Utah is stuff I exactly agree with. I agree that the loss, my loss, hurt them. I think should have hurt them more than it did. So I definitely think I'm on the same page with theirs, Utah. What murders me mentally, and that makes me want to lose my mind, and this happens in real life too, but you just alluded to it and said it happens in the committee here too, is that when we get to the very end, we change the rules. We start bringing in things that don't matter before, so we bring them in now. That blows my mind and makes my blood boil. When we're changing the rules in the middle of the game, I can say nothing good about that. I understand the way it is and some of the reasons, but it's lunacy.
So I think that's a big thing for, in real life and even here. We keep throwing out all these different metrics that we're looking at, and there's just not a again, college football is not created equally, so the metrics aren't. And something, I'd love to have a conversation with somebody in here who's a numbers guy. A couple people that are numbers guys. I know Andy's doing numbers, but I'd love to see a strength of record or something that more finds how that person actually performed against their schedule, not just strength of schedule. Because even Colorado, Colorado beat Texas Tech. Texas Tech was winning that game till late. Texas Tech pulled that one out of over Colorado. They didn't, ultimately that's why they ended where they were. But there's even those little things where you lose. You see a box score, you see stats, you see metrics, but if you don't see all these games, you lose those little things about, well, that team's probably a little stronger than you actually think. Yeah, they lost to Colorado, but that's a one-score game, and they were up 2 touchdowns. I think in the fourth, maybe it was the third. But either way, those are those little things where